Hey guys, what's going on? Gandhi here. In today's video, we're going to be taking a look at the Phase 3 Loot Prio, kind of like a shopping list of things that you want to get going into Black Temple. We are about 1 month away from Black Temple. A release date should be dropping any day now. And like I said, this video is going to be going over the quote-unquote BIS list for TBC Arms Warrior. Now, a quick disclaimer. You guys can obviously go to Wowhead and search up Bissless Warrior TBC. Take a look and realize that there are items on this list. You can go take a look and see that there's things on the Wowhead list that are not on this sheet. You can go take a look and see multiple different variations, different opinions, different thoughts on what you should gear towards as a two-handed warrior in TBC Classic. A lot of that information is very outdated. It is from 2022. Point of this video is to clear up a lot of things, to share my opinion, share my 2 cents, share with you guys publicly what I plan to do come next phase, and give you guys this resource as early as possible. That way you can kind of communicate with your raid leader, your loot council, of what you want, what you don't want, what you'd pass on for this and that. Now to dive right in, going to this phase, the head slot is very contested. Onslaught Battlehelm is going to be our best option behind CVOS. Now let's note, come next phase, we get a ton of hit options when it comes to gearing. Onslaught is special because it has 0 hit rating on it. It is a very powerful item, whereas CVOS has 21 hit rating. Now, CVOS is a very, very good item, and it actually scales better for us next phase in ZA when we actually get to drop some of the hit rating we are overwhelmed with come phase 3. So what I would recommend to do is to let your raid leader know, hey, I don't need CVOS come phase 3. However, I would like Prio come phase 4. Now to move on to our neck piece, Choker Strider Blaze is our BIS. Do not let anyone tell you otherwise. The second alternative is Choker of Endless Nightmares. This is, again, another hit item that we do not need as Arms Warrior. We are absolutely overwhelmed with hits, so we do not need that item. Alternatively, there are other stats that we love on this neck piece, such as Armor Pin and Stamina. Going into our shoulder piece, a lot of you guys would expect Onslaught shoulders to be in this slot, and do not get me wrong. Onslaught shoulders are very, very, very good. However, me personally, I'm going to continue to run the Expertise hard cap set. That way I cannot be dodged at all. I'm going to be running Shoulder Pads of the Stranger, Belt of 100 Deaths, which is BIS anyways, and a controversial Shapeshifter's Signet. Now, to continue on the shoulder slots, I am taking Stranger. It was our BIS last phase, and I'm continuing to wear it with my Saffron enchant come next phase. However, you cannot go wrong with Onslaught shoulder pads. An additional reason why I'm sticking with Stranger is because Onslaught shoulder pads are very highly contested. Honestly, more contested than CVOS. Every hunter, every shaman in your raid is going to want tier gear, every warrior. So that's about 8 to 10 to 12 people that you need to get tier gear, and they all want it as soon as possible. Unlike in Phase 2, where no one except shamans really cared about tier, which we didn't even share it with them, so it was not an issue for us. Now, MVP of TBC WoW is our Vengeance Rep. We are going to continue to wear Vengeance Rep come this phase. The reason we're wearing Vengeance Rep is, again, Shadow Moon Slayer's Drape is very good. It is a good item. However, we do not need the hit. With us not needing the hit yet in Phase 3, it is only a 4 to 7 DPS increase, which playing an Arms Warrior, when we're talking about 4 to 7 DPS, it is very, very minimal, and there are other things that you can do as a player and mechanically to increase your DPS tenfolds. So we're going to stick with the Vengeance Wrap. We're going to give this thing a little trophy, and we're going to wear it until we get Dory's Embrace come Phase 4. That is the second reason we are not going to drop this Vengeance Wrap, is because we get such a great non-hit alternative come next phase, which should come shortly after Phase 3, as a filler and catch-up raid for Black Temple. Now, moving on to our chest. Bulk of Ancient Kings. This is going to be our Bis Rec set chest. If you are a parse warrior, you only care about parsing bosses, this chest is absolutely disgusting. With the on-use proc on the screen shown, pairing that with Recklessness in any phase of a boss is absolutely disgusting and is absolutely unmatched. If you are doing speedruns, or you care about overall damage, or you'd like to do trash parses, it is worth noting that Onslaught Chest is very, very good. If you're going for medium parses, etc., Onslaught is worth getting. Now, a second disclaimer I'd like to make in this video is as a warrior, no matter what spec you are, tank, DPS, arms, fury, whatever, you need to do PvP Arena 5s come next phase. Specifically 5s because you need the points. Tier gear is very contested. We wear 2 to 3 pieces as filler gear until you get other items. Especially as Fury, you tend to go 3 to 4 piece depending on what gear set you are running. That being said, the PvP tier tokens are actually very, very good this phase. The reason for that is they all have armor pen on them, and it is very good early on to stack that ARP. So until you get Onslaught Helm, until you get Divine Red, until you get Grips, it is good to get the PvP offsets, and of course Fury and, if I dare say, Kebab, you guys will use the one-handed swords until you get the orange glaives. Now, moving on to our wrist slot, this is an example of an item that I would not prio whatsoever, right? So I would not cry about this item. Bladespire Warbands actually get a boost in DPS this phase. So if you have Bladespire, you get to put epic gems in those, so they actually get a huge increase. And honestly, the bracer slot is very minimal. You're talking 1 to 3 DPS no matter what bracers you put on. However, Deadly Cuffs are our BIS, but we do not need the hit from them until the very end of this phase. So honestly, I would take this last in your raid group. Now, this next item is one of 3 game-breaking items for us come this phase, and that is Kata's Edge. Simmed with a non-rec, standard buff setup, standard raid setup, this item alone is 62 DPS, which is absolutely insane. Coming from one item, of course, it is a weapon, but specifically speaking, that 335 ARP is absolutely disgusting and will scale great with any rec. And just to reiterate in this video, all DPS numbers shown have been simmed with no rec and a standard buff setup. The next item is Grips of Silent Justice. These are one of your This is the second of 3 items that is absolutely huge for us this phase. They're about 18 to 20 DPS, especially if you're running Searing Grip. This allows you to put back on Shapeshifters and drop your Ancestral Conquest from last phase. These gloves are very, very good. Of course, that 175 ARP is disgusting. However, it is worth noting if you guys run 1 or 2 Fury Warriors in your raid, you should take these last over them. They need to hit more than we do. Right, so this item again is very good. However, you can run Searing Grip for a couple more weeks. This item is minimal compared to what it is for your Fury Warriors. I believe it's 25 to 30 for them. So that's worth putting that up there as well. Quickly moving on, 100D. You guys know the gist with that. Moving on to our third item that is absolutely game breaking. And when I tell you guys, Leggings of Divine Ret are the biggest item for us this phase. They are similar. I think it is literally the exact same as Kata's Edge as far as DPS increase from the leg slot. And that is simming from phase BIS, meaning from KT legs it is 62 DPS increase over KT legs. Next we have Dread Boots of the Legion. These boots, again, very similar to the Grips of Justice, are very, very good for us. They're about 18 to 20. However, like I said with the gloves, they're better for Fury, so I would pass these to your Fury Warriors first. You will be second prio for these. And it's worth noting too for these items, guys. No one's really contesting us for any of this gear, right? Some of it's already gear that we already have. The only 2 to 3 items that are really contested are going to be our tier token head, our neck piece, and that's about it. Moving on, Band of Raider General. This ring is absolutely ridiculous. Hopefully you guys got it last phase. If you did not, what I would recommend you guys do is if you do not have Band of Raider General, you can shift your prio to Storm Rage Signet Ring, a very highly contested item, but you can make that argument for it if you do not have this ring right here. Just to shoot some numbers at you guys, Storm Rage Signet over Band is about 11 DPS, simmed with no rec. and then Storm Rage over. The second alternative, assuming you need the hit, is upwards of 25 to 30 over all Phase 2 ring alternatives. If you don't want the hit and you want to go full DPS, Band of Eternal Champion is worth noting. Unstable Aggression is worth noting. We have a lot of great ring options in this phase. That's why it's worth noting that SSR is kind of higher, should be higher prio to other melee DPS in your raid. Moving on to another controversial take, I will be running Expertise hard cap like I previously stated, so I will be putting on the Shapeshifter Signet. Another great investment. This is a personal preference. Wowhead Logs tells you to not do this. However, in my personal opinion, in my personal experience, I think that there is an inherent value in landing an 8.4k, 9k execute rather than that 9k ability dodging, rather than you hitting for 8.5k or 9.1k, if that makes sense, right? We have limited weeks to parse, and I don't want to rely on the game's RNG when I'm slamming 9k executes with armor pin next phase, 9k, 10k plus. No sim can take into account a 10k execute dodging. And regarding data analytics, right? As far as personal gameplay preference, as you guys may know, playing a two-handed warrior in this game, if you have a 3-second auto attack dodge followed by a slam or filler dodge, there is no worse gameplay feeling, and honestly, it is just not fun to play. You'd be better off standing up in your chair doing a 360 and shotgunning a Red Bull than sitting there and just spam dodging the boss. Now to quickly move on, Badge is technically our BIS. There are fights with lower armor come this phase, so we will swap that off for things like Tsunami Talisman, Madness of the Betrayer. However, it is worth noting that Madness is bigger for other classes. However, no one really needs Madness. It is a very good trinket. Your BM Hunters can make an argument for it, but your CVOS BM Hunters won't need the hit from Madness, so they kind of have to pick and choose who wants what. That's a good way for your LC to kind of divvy that loot out accordingly. But for the most part, Badge is going to maintain our BIS for a majority of this next phase. Again, alternatives are going to be Tsunami Talisman, Madness coming in. Slightly above it, about 9 to 10 DPS over Tsunami. However, fights with lower armor, we will take Tsunami. And of course, the good old trusty DST. Hopefully you guys are still chipping away if you have not gotten this trinket already. It is BIS throughout this entire phase, even through ZA until we go till Sumwell. Now, the range slot, not very important. It's just worth noting that your technical BIS this phase is the Serpent Shrine Longbow. However, that is still BIS this phase for BM Hunters. Assuming you guys are still doing SSC for Vash belts, if your hunters already have the bow, it is worth taking. However, this throwing weapon is not wanted by anybody, so it's kind of a free pickup, and it's like a mini feral buff in the throwing weapon slot. So yeah, guys, that's going to wrap up today's video. Super short and sweet. These are my thoughts. This is my gearing plan. Hopefully you guys learned some things. If you have any questions, comments, or concerns, please drop them in the comments section. Straight to the point. Unbiased. Things you want, things you don't, things that you need. Relay those to your relator, guys. And as always, wish you guys the best of luck. Phase 3 is coming soon, and it's going to be absolutely ridiculous. Going to be pumping out content for you guys. You guys are going to be pumping numbers. It's going to be absolutely insane. As always, guys, have a great rest of your day. Gandhi out. Peace.